Let us get up close and personal with you, whether you are an individual or an industry. You need to be invested in this narrative around disruption, else the forces around will disrupt you. You need to take charge of the journey of your life through the roles you play in them, traversing through the 0 to 5 scale of innocence, awareness, understanding, definition, competence, and excellence. As an individual or an industry, you need to navigate the scale with minimum dysfunction to accomplish success. With a minimum threshold of a score of 3, definition, to remain relevant at pursuing excellence. Remember, as you are transforming, so is the environment around you. Your rate of learning has to be greater than the forces of change around you. This is the onset of the creator's economy, and it starts with data about you. And it also ends with you consuming it. Everything in between is the work that gets executed by different roles that you and others play in this newly connected ecosystem that is globally local. Think about it. You can produce a crop of hybrid seeds in a remote part of India that can produce commercial crops globally, taking you away from the struggles of a debt-ridden commercial crop. You can become a global software designer being located anywhere in the world with the ability to showcase your intellectual property you create, plugging and playing in any environment with security, with the ownership title legally associated with your digital credentials. You can be a musician, collaborating, creating, recording, and publishing with your own communities who consume it on a globally acknowledged platforms, earning you the right income, weeding out the disparity from corporate interests. This is your age to earn equity and dignity on your own terms, no matter who you are and where you are from, or how your social identity describes you. You have to define your aspirations, and the expectations as milestones will define your course of life's journey. In the process, you will discover your immediate needs and wants that need to be met by an ecosystem in order for your journey to success. Giga's digital platform is an intelligent infrastructure as service that connects the dots, including data, talent, materials, capital, and infrastructure, digitally in an ecosystem for each role in your life cycle, so you may embark on your journey of excellence with the help of your personal digital compass that is driven by algorithms to help you navigate and stay ahead with learning across education, training, practice, and performance. This episode, we feature Anand KV, founder and managing director, Trimtap Consulting LLP, and Chief Innovation Officer, Gopalakrishnan Deshpande, Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, IIT Madras. I want to start off with if you can give a little insight about the Deshpande Foundation and how the GDC came up to be at IIT Madras.
So the Deshpande Foundation is headquartered at MIT and in Boston, and they have several centers across the world. They have one in Queen's University in Canada, which is called Queen's Dunnen Deshpande Center for Innovation. They have one in University of New Brunswick in Canada, where it's called the Pond Deshpande Center. And in India, Deshpande Center is headquartered in Hubli. So Desh has been trying to impact in several ways, both in India and outside India. The GDC particularly, came about when Desh decided to do something similar to what he was doing at Queen's and MIT. And 2017 at IIT Madras, the whole idea started. And since Desh himself has been an alumnus of IIT Madras, and Desh's wife Jayashree is also from IIT Madras, and the model that he uses, that he works with, is he partners with someone locally. So in Queens, he partners with Dunnen. In UNB, New Brunswick, he partners with Pond, Jerry Pond. And so in India, he partnered with Chris Gopalakrishnan. And Chris also happens to be an alumnus of IIT Madras. So they decided to start this center. And at that time, I was not part of the center. It was, I think, in September 2017. January 2018, they decided to host a symposium at IIT Madras. That was the first symposium, and it was about innovation and entrepreneurship. And I got invited because I had met Desh and Raj, who works with Desh in Boston, and that's how I got an invite to attend the symposium. And just within within a few hours of attending the symposium, I just fell in love with the whole idea of what they were trying to do, and I really got hooked. Then I said, okay, I want to be part of this. And so around March 2018, we launched the first cohort of our program, and that's called Incubate, the flagship program. And it's now almost 4.5 years since we started the first cohort of that program. We've scaled up quite rapidly. So the idea, the mission behind this center is there is a lot of money that is being spent on research in academic institutions, and very, very small percentage of that actually come to the world and impact the world. Innovation is not innovation if it is sitting in the labs, right? So we actually, in our programs, we clearly distinguish between invention and innovation. So if it is sitting in your lab, even if it is the most path-breaking invention, it is still an invention. It is not innovation if it is actually not impacting people. So his idea was to bring the ideas from the lab to the market, and this has been done in the US. The National Science Foundation does a program called ICOR, and ICOR, they do it at a regional level, node level, and also at a national level. Something similar we borrowed from ICOR. Our program is modeled on ICOR. In fact, we got the ICOR faculty to come and train us. This is the primary mission, and through this mission, what we are also doing is the faculty who are in the premier academic institutions, STEM institutions mainly, they're not necessarily looking forward to becoming entrepreneurs and startup founders. They are quite comfortable in their research world and the academic world. We are not trying to make every academician an entrepreneur, but the entrepreneurial mindset and the culture in the STEM institutions, because if you look at the US, Google came from university. A lot of great innovations came from university labs. So we wanted to make sure that even if they are not interested in becoming startup founders, can they actually become entrepreneurial in their thinking? And the culture in these institutions, can it become entrepreneurial? And so the program intends to impact both the faculty or the academicians and the researchers and the students. That's how we have designed the whole program. So I'll probably say that we have succeeded, because so far we have worked with close to 300 startup teams which came from the universities, and many of them have gone ahead. They are in some at some point in their journey. So we have startups which have crossed 100 crore revenue, going to 400 crore revenue next year, all within a short time of 3 years. So this is really how the foundation, Deshpande Foundation, is separate. How the GDC, the Gopalakrishnan Deshpande Center, came about, and so that's the history behind GDC.
Today, the mindset or the need of startups to grow is in exponentially more, higher and faster than any time in the history before. This is only possible with ecosystems, right? Ideally, someone like your organization, which is housed in one of the premier institutes, has the potential to attract and create those ecosystems.
Right.
Can you talk me through that journey of creating ecosystems?
If you look at the ecosystem in India for innovation and entrepreneurship, startup ecosystem, of course the government is taking a lot of steps. There are several schemes. There are a number of grants available for founders who won't get money otherwise. If you are at a pre-seed stage, nobody is going to give you money. Even at seed stage, people are not going to give you money, but the government supports them. So I understand we have about 61,000 registered startups in the country. So government actually has been quite active in creating the ecosystem.
Is the quantum of money that the government is giving without a collateral, some 10 to 20 lakhs, to with collateral up to about 1 crore to 5 crores, is that money adequate?
Um, it depends on how we look at it, because there was a time when people were willing to fund ideas, right? And I think that time has gone now. Now it's not easy to get funding. You just don't present an idea and get money, right? The money that government gives in the form of grants can range from 5 lakhs to 50 lakhs or even more, right? But if you look at how that money is being spent, or even the intention behind giving that money is not necessarily to bring the product to the market. Instead, it is being given to develop the prototype. And so if there is let's say a medical device startup, and if they go to BIRAC, they get 50 lakhs. And that 50 lakhs is sufficient to bring the prototype or make the prototype up to that level. They may even go up to clinical trials. Because the intention of the grant is also to just support the development of the prototype and not necessarily make the startup go to market, I would say it is sufficient. In fact, one of the challenges that I see startups finding is they don't know how to actually spend the money. The clarity that the founders have about, or the vision that they have about going to market, is really a place where there is a lot of work that needs to be done. That's exactly where GDC comes in. Because if you look at the ecosystem, there are 600 plus incubators in the country, and there are accelerators, and the government is supporting. So there is a lot that is happening. But the stage at which the startup is, there is particularly, from the idea stage to the pre-seed to even to the seed stage, nobody is actually supporting them in a structured manner. And here the founder is the startup is the founder, right? And founders get excited when they have an idea. Many founders believe that idea is the business, or then the product is the business. So a lot of time is being spent on the product development without any without bringing the customer into the company or the startup at all, without actually even understanding whether whatever they are making is needed by somebody or not. And therefore, if they end up getting a lot more money at this stage, I would probably think that the money is going to be wasted and not put to productive use. So are they struggling at these early stages? The ones who don't get the grants probably are struggling, who are just bootstrapping, but the ones who've got the grant are comfortable. And sadly, many of them are actually taking a long time to even achieve the milestones with the money that has been given to them. And so this is an area where I think the ecosystem is not adequately supporting, and that's where GDC comes in.
This mindset change, the ability to conceptualize, which is a building hypothesis, building models, and there are models here with alpha customers and consumers, and then imagining a engine and building components and connections for it. And they can be physical products, they can be services, they can be platforms. We don't find, at least my research doesn't find such thinking and such startups in India yet.
Right.
I would be happy to change my opinion if you were able to offer some insights.
I agree, but the way I put it across, I would put it across is that what comes first? My genius comes first, my capability to create futuristic products come first, or the customer comes first. This is a tough one because all of us suddenly get a brilliant idea, maybe because we've been observing something that is not okay, and we've been trying to see that as an opportunity to create a solution for, and then create a business out of it, right? But mostly startup founders, they get to hear only the large success stories like the Flipkarts and the Oyos and the Olas, and so there's a lot of glamour there. And second, because they are capable of building a product, in most cases an app, right? Anybody easily can build an app. they can build an app, they can build some software, they can even build some physical products, whatever it is. Because they have the capability to do it, they start actually believing that the product is the business, the product is what the world needs, and I don't really spend any time understanding whether customers buy product or buy solution, right? I don't buy a product because it is ABC. If I have the need, I buy something. If I am
I want to clarify.
Right.
Customer buys a product, and product is actually an application.
Right.
But where I am coming from is, if you look at the practices of Apple, Alphabet, and Amazon, they at least have understood this, that there are solutions, and you plug and play products out of them.
Correct. So solution fundamentally means that there is a need or the problem behind a solution, right? So you are solving a problem, and that's why it is a solution, or you are fulfilling a need, that's why it becomes a solution. So if I am hungry, the solution, that's a problem for me, and the solution is I need food, and therefore food is the solution. Then I may have preferences. I would like Chinese, I would like Italian, I would like Indian, and whatever it is, I have a lot of preferences. But fundamentally there is a need. But if I am making an app, suppose I think that I should make an app, and that app is a super app. It will actually bring everything under one umbrella. Medical, pharmacies, grocery stores, even consumer durables, service centers, everything under one umbrella, and then and then I start imagining that people are dying today because they have to use 3 apps. One to buy groceries, one to buy medicines, and one to book their service, car service, and so on. So they are all actually, so I start believing that customers are suffering or people are suffering, and that's all I think about the work to customer, and then I end up spending all my time and money and resources on building the super app.
And the one super app that has been built in India is not a big success either.
Correct. And then what do? So I believe that, I've built a fantastic product. So I call this an innovation. I call this, a great product. But a great product does not automatically become a great business, right? Finally, if there is a need for people to have this super app in their lives, they will get it.
So we don't see originals, right? And to your point of observing life around us,
right?
There are so many problems.
Yes, absolutely.
Rather than being blind, we've had floods in Bangalore. Roads have been flooded.
Right.
Not because there have been heavy rains, but because of poor drainage.
Right.
Why are the drainage poor? Is because they are filled with construction debris. Who built this construction debris? The very people who are protesting today, the IT companies. So if there was a governance that said that when you do your buildings, that you have to clear your debris,
right,
and take them to landfills,
right,
and there is a governance, and if you don't do, there is a fine, because the municipal will have to do it at a cost.
True.
We wouldn't be having the solution. So we are creating a problem,
right, right,
and we are trying to solve it.
Solve it, yeah.
But there is a deeper problem, and the deeper problem is there is a climate crisis. And that climate crisis can bring rains like this, not only at the end of a monsoon, but perhaps right in the middle of a summer.
Absolutely. Correct.
And when it does that, there will be this problem will be exacerbated 10 times more, because at least now there was a certain level of preparedness for monsoon.
Right.
Then there won't be that preparedness either.
Absolutely. Let's say I have the capability to solve problems, and I am observing this problem, and like this there could be some problems that we will see in the future. Why am I not predicting that there could be a problem and start solving it? Why am I waiting for the problem to happen? And if I am capable, why am I building one more app that is probably the 101st app, right? And why do I expect to be funded for that?
Yes.
And why do I think people will drop everything and come and start using my app? Where is all this coming from, right? And this is the place where I think founders need, I'm not saying they are wrong, but this is the place where founders need the right guidance and the right mentoring, and take them along the way, because nobody asked them these questions.
Right.
And They don't ask these questions to themselves either because it has not occurred to them, or it's probably because they fear asking these questions to
No,
themselves.
but it is also our financial ecosystems.
True.
VCs are funding them.
Yes, correct. That's what VCs are funding them. They are getting grants, right? So now, if I said a lot of good things about how the government is supporting, but the flip side to that is actually this is making founders, I don't want to use the word lazy or anything, but definitely it is spoiling them, right? I participate in a competition, I get 5 lakhs, and then I spend that 5 lakhs. Then I will figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
But I don't have a vision. So the founder's vision is really what, see, the founder is the engine at the end of the day, and the founder's vision is what is actually going to solve problems.
Yes.
Right? But I don't have a vision. I am looking at getting 5 lakhs, spending another 3 months on developing a product, load it with as many features as possible, and declare that I have done this. So what? You've not built a business. You've built something probably you think is the sexiest product that anybody can imagine, but what's the use? Right? And this mindset change is not something that the current ecosystem is addressing. And that is exactly where we come in and we start asking these tough questions right at the beginning. We are not saying that technology or product development is less important, but what we are saying is, if you focus on that and burn all your resources, and if you have not even thought about what problem you are really solving, if you are not solving a problem, or if you are solving a non-existent problem, there's no way, customers are going to come running to you. And you get disappointed when you spend 3 years building something and you get disappointed. That's why the startup success rate has not improved significantly in the last so many years. It's still hovering around probably between 5% and 10%. At least 90% of the startups still don't make it. And statistics tell us that 50% of the startups don't survive beyond 6 months. Right? Why is it like that? You can give a lot of money, you can fund them, you can VCs fund these people. Everybody is willing to give money, and they're also looking at the numbers, right? So they are also looking at, I will fund 10 companies, even if one succeeds, I made it, right? That's how they look at it. But each founder probably has a life, and each founder probably has committed, and then where does that founder go? And if that founder is not guided, the person is not thinking like a founder, the person is thinking like a techie, the person is thinking like an excited graduate, and who's very enthusiastic about building something. So there's a huge difference between building something and solving a problem, but the clarity is not there.
Right.
So this is really where I think the challenge is, and we are addressing the challenge in our own way, but we are also hoping that we can do it at a much larger scale. We have scaled up quite well. We started with IIT Madras, then IISc and IIT Bombay and so on, but now we have started working with about 45 universities across the country, and we've crossed about 300 startups, and we're also looking at where else we can make a difference. Like for example, incubators. If you look at incubators, what percentage of the companies that are incubating, startups that are incubating, actually make it? It's not very high. There as well. It is the same percentage there. Why? Because they have the support, they have people who have been there, done that, they are all mentoring you, and there is real estate available to you. You don't have the burden of having to think about compliance. That help is given to you. A lot of help is given to you, and you are only asked to part with, let's say, 3% of your company or whatever. At this point in time, when you are incubating, the company is not even you cannot even value the company. So 3% is okay. So that's how they get it. But after getting in, they should also have a plan to get out. But that getting out is not happening because I think they are comfortable and there's no sense of urgency. Right? So these are all some of the challenges that we see. And but fundamentally, the question is, am I building a product based on my view that this is what the world needs, or am I solving a real problem for people who cannot wait for one more day? Which will be more successful, the first approach or the second approach? And who will actually then tell me that there is a huge difference between building a product and building a business? who will guide me through the process of building a product to building a business. It's not being taught in universities or colleges. If at all, it's an academic program that's available in some universities. Entrepreneurship is taught, innovation is taught. But that's not good enough, right?
True. In fact, you've just stolen my thunder. I was going to ask you, which was the next question. Having built your foundation, the GDC, in one of the premier institutions, how does then that segue into the educational system itself?
One, we have been impacting the STEM institutions across the country. What COVID did to us was really good, because before COVID, before March 2020, we were doing all our programs in person, and because of the nature of the program that we do, we call it a boot camp. It's very intensive. We cannot have more than 10 startups in a cohort. And so if we were doing a program in IISc, it will be only IISc teams or only IIT Madras teams. So it was not really, we would have scaled up, but it would have taken a much longer time. But after COVID, since we moved everything to online, we have been able to get startups from all over the country attending in the same cohort. And these are all academic institutions. All these are academic institutions for this program. But then we have also built some other programs where we are currently actually experimenting with a program that goes into the academic world, not necessarily the startup world, bringing people out of the academic world, goes into the academic world and then start familiarizing them, because there are a lot of myths about entrepreneurship and innovation. In fact, 2 weeks ago, when I was in one of the engineering colleges, one of the faculty, actually not even a student, the faculty was strongly arguing that a startup can succeed only if it is innovation. And what is innovation? According to that person, innovation means A, it has to be something new, B, it has to be something spectacular and path-breaking, and this is like nobody should have done it. And if that is how the thinking is, obviously it is going to be intimidating for most people, because people think that, oh, it's like, people saying that I am not a creative person, I am not an innovative person, and where do you get this from? Even framing a problem differently is innovation. Right?
It is.
It is innovation. So it need not be that, and that person also believes that it has to be a physical product, and it has to be something that has never existed in the world, only then it is innovation.
No, so there are three types of innovation.
Right.
Systemic, systems, and systematic.
Right.
The third one is, of course, not an innovation, it's an improvement.
Right.
Whether we do systemic innovation or systems innovation, there is a pathway.
Mm-hmm.
And the pathway is, in both the cases, you simplify,
Mm-hmm.
you modernize, and then you disrupt. When you disrupt, it becomes either a systemic or a systems, depending upon the market and the type of needs
Right.
there are. This narrative, you're not seeing it anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, today, other than the fact that, if anybody wants to talk about innovation, you talk about moonshots, which is a Google coined PR. But that is what moonshots is all about, is how do you simplify, how do you modernize, and then how do you disrupt.
Right.
So how can we bring that about? And there is a uniform misinformation about this topic of innovation.
Right. You asked the question about how do we, take this into the system, into the education system or into the academic world, right? So if I'm not going to, talk about the current education system, what is good about it, what is bad about it. I'm just looking at this innovation and entrepreneurship, right? There are myths in the students, especially the ones who are in the tier 2, tier 3, institutions. A lot of myth about what is innovation and what is entrepreneurship. One example was what the faculty said. And when the faculty believes so, the students also tend to believe the same definition of innovation. And then entrepreneurship, we see this together, because at the end of the day, even if it is a systemic innovation, if it is not creating the outcomes that it is intended to create, it is still not an innovation. It
Yes.
is probably, right?
Absolute agreement.
And therefore the myths about, like you say, I have to come from a business family to be able to start a business. It should be in your blood. And so we are actually beginning to go to the academic institutions, people at undergrad level, and start bursting some of these misconceptions and myths. One. And second, that's not good enough. We should also be able to create an ecosystem at that level for people to start innovating and without any inhibition, right? Because the current system measures one's worth by the marks that the person scores, that is performance. And so I don't think performance is the end, and there is so much more than that. The potential is not even noticed, because performance takes the front seat and every seat. And so we are actually now going to academic institutions. We have just begun that process, not necessarily working with the faculty at IIT, IISCs and so on, but at a student level, can we actually familiarize themselves with whole idea of innovation and entrepreneurship, and how they can solve real world problems, and why they must solve real world problems. And of course, it is also associated with things like, you want to be a job creator or a job seeker, how many jobs can be available. So all of these, because everybody knows that there are not enough jobs, but everybody believes that they will get a job, right? Or if I don't get a job, I will go to the US, I'll do my masters, or I'll do something and come back. So this is how they are thinking about it. So we try to tell them that there is also something else available to you, and this is how you can actually think about creating, innovating, taking it to the market. You can be a job creator, you don't have to be a job seeker. And so the journey has started, and we believe that we need to begin by actually, because if I just introduce a course on entrepreneurship 101, what will it do? If I just go and teach one semester course on entrepreneurship, that one semester course will become another course where the student is going to achieve X% or CGPA or this and that, right? The scores is what matters. So is that good enough? Is that the right way? Or do we have to do something else? So we are experimenting right now to do something which is not necessarily evaluated by the score or the marks that they get in that course, but by actually building a pathway for them. And it is not a course that they begin and finish in one semester and then they go and do other courses. This should actually, there should be a path where they can continue to pursue this, and then when they actually finish their program, and then when they when they are deciding what to do when they come out, they don't have to keep up thinking about the same options, like, will I get a job, should I sit for placements, or should I go and study, do my masters. They already have been building something as they were studying, and that is what they can do after. So that's our initiative, which we have just started. We are hoping that this will make some difference, but this is not going to succeed by itself unless the educational institutions create an ecosystem for this. It should not be against their agenda.
Right.
That is where I think we will probably have some challenges, because their agenda could be something else altogether.
This thing called innovation is a journey in excellence.
True.
It moves from innocence to awareness, to understanding, to definition, to competence, to excellence. So there is a grave urgency for creating solutions.
Right.
Whether it is climate, whether it is food, whether it is water.
Yeah.
There is this great danger, more in India, of not being prepared. You leave alone getting into the future. How do we change course?
Right.
Because being prepared is the first step.
Yes.
And for that, even expressing curiosity and the very honest fact that I actually don't know. Let's find out how this happens. How do we do that?
An extension of that is that there is a lot of glamour and noise about these open challenges, grand challenges, hackathons and stuff like that, right? Where even, the students participate and they win competitions and stuff like that. But the design of these, if it is to solve a real world problem that somebody has thought about and somebody has predicted, and then you are throwing this challenge open to people, what they think they are doing is they are only doing something but not thinking about the problem. That disconnect is still there. If I am thrown a challenge at me, using my skills, I will solve that problem, right? And because the student community is also now very much hooked on to this, it's natural that they are still ignorant, because they are not expected to think and solve the problem. They are expected to do. That is one. So ignorance, therefore, can continue. And even if you look at the corporate world, when people go from, the whole concept of open innovation is still not completely, practiced, let us say. So I am used to somebody giving me a problem, and because I have the capability, I will solve it. And this is how I become, let's say, I actually build my credentials, and then because I can say that I won this competition, I got the second prize here and stuff like that. And with that, I have a choice to go into the corporate world where I can expect people to throw more problems at me, and I will keep solving, and I'll be a superstar there. This path is clear to me, right? And nobody has told me that there is another way to do this as well. So if I am, let us say, during COVID, so many hackathons happened. COVID, there's people, from colleges and startups, everybody participated, won competitions. Some of the students who participated in these competitions, they said, I want to take this idea forward because I think it is worth taking to the market. How do they go about it? At least these people have started thinking about finding use for the product and not leaving it to the people who organize the competition. And how do I do it? And that is the time when they don't have the guidance, and therefore if we catch them at that stage and we can guide them. But removing the ignorance, I think, is a much bigger question here, right? Because people could be pulling in different directions. It's not like there is a clear entry for you to go there and remove the ignorance. This is exactly what I am also thinking. How are we going to do this? Because the agenda could be very different for the other side, and I may be thinking that I am removing ignorance, but they may be seeing it very differently. But I think it will happen. We have started in that direction. A long way to go, but I think it will happen. I don't know if if just holding workshops in institutions will help. I really don't know if that is a solution. But I think the systemic innovation that you talk about is what probably is essential here. And systemic innovation here is not going to be masterminded by one person or one entity, and then systemic innovation is going to happen. I think probably there is a collaboration that is required among different communities to come together and solve this problem. But it's a very, I think you are absolutely right. This is a real problem. So how much ever we talk about everything else, the startup ecosystem and everything else, this is quite fundamental. I don't think I have an answer to this, but I agree with you. This is something that needs to be addressed.
The very definition or understanding of what digital is, this is completely absent. This is completely lacking in the best of startups, in the best of institutions. So how do we bring this narrative of, listen, we need this clear understanding of what digital is?
Right. See, I think you said it already. Probably you have the context and you know the purpose. The other person either has been told or believes that they don't need the context, they don't need to understand the purpose. They have skills and knowledge. I just put my skills to use and you pay me for that. So if that is the attitude, it's always going to be a huge challenge, because really you are the one who truly has the context and the purpose, right? We see that all the time. Forget about academic institutions. At work, we see it every day, right? Even in positions or in functions like customer experience, which is not necessarily a department anymore. It's customer experience is much bigger than a department. It's driven by the CEO. It's not driven by a functional head and all of that. But even when it comes to that, people would like you to divide it into smaller pieces and don't give me the context. Just tell me what I need to do. I'm going to handle, email channel. Give me the templates, train me on how to respond to emails, tell me the SLA, I will do it.
Right.
And this attitude from the student life to the corporate life is still continuing. If this is not broken, I don't think you will see anything changing. But how do we solve it? I think probably people like you and many people like us will have to come forward and start at least breaking the ignorance. I'm not saying they're all bad people. It's just that that's how they have been trained and they have been told. Right now, somebody has to tell them something else, and more people have to tell them something else, and this voice has to become louder. And I think then it will change. I see things changing. If you look at my daughters, they are I would say they are Gen Z, right? Gen Z, and the way they are able to contextualize has changed. The way they are actually receiving information and actually even wanting to understand the context behind the information tells me that there is some hope. Probably the Gen X's and Gen Y's, we were probably so caught up with dealing with life and making life, and we really didn't think about it much. But I think this is probably going to improve. That's my hope.
The future of a IIT graduate is not in a classroom.
Yeah, true.
Okay, but on the streets and in the industries.
Right.
Where the professor has a course material or a lesson plan and is able to show the direct correlation between an algorithm and an application.
I think there's been a lot of emphasis, focus, everything on knowledge, and probably slowly it changed to skills. Application maybe to some extent, but the mindset has still not been changed. So what you are saying will happen when the way we look at problems, when the way we perceive the context and the way we actually use our minds to see, if that does not change, we will keep accumulating knowledge, we will keep accumulating skills. I think this is really where the challenge is. And I see that changing. Maybe it's a one-off example, but when I see people at that age, the friends and everybody, there is definitely a difference in the mindset. And instead of killing that, we should nurture that. That is where I see a huge risk, because there is a tendency to actually kill that, and that is dangerous. But knowledge can be acquired, skills can be acquired through training and experience. Even application can be you do it 10 times and then you start thinking in a certain way. But this basic mindset change, I think, is going to be the biggest challenge for us. That is future of work, I would say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Hi friends, this is Siddharth Patel again. I'm making a habit of standing in for Subbu, and who knows, I may take over the monologue part of the videocast. Let us know if you prefer me to him. There is a need in our societies to shift from knowledge accumulation to knowledge assimilation, with the explicit understanding that knowledge has a shelf life. If you consume knowledge that is beyond its shelf life, there is more harm than good that is impacted. At every level, content needs to be purposed for intelligent consumption, ingestion, and actions, which is where we also need to connect fundamental research with applied research. We see a number of so-called innovations that don't add up to the quality of life around us because of this. We need to frame questions more from a perspective of inquiry rather than enquiry. We must understand the fundamental difference between an enterprise and a business, and provides inputs for conceptualization and engineering in the context of life. The former frames the questions and provides the inputs for conceptualization and engineering in the context of life, while the latter inquires about the cohort and segmentation to deliver industrialized applications that take shape of the products and services. In essence, there is a need to connect the four stages: conceptualization, engineering, industrialization, and commercialization. Because innovation is not magic but a rather deliberate process of simplification, modernization, and disruption, which mutually includes both mind to market, known as invention to innovation cycle, and time to market, known as innovation to improvisation cycle. Imagine the front and back wheels of a bicycle that helps a bicyclist stride forward. Thank you, Anand, for investing the time for this conversation. We look forward to many successful innovations emerging out of the Deshpande Foundation globally. In the next episode, we explored the subject of advancement of science in India, featuring Hari Pulakat, who is a lifetime journalist, having been a senior editor at Business World magazine, The Economic Times, now the editor of Shastra, produced by IIT Madras. He is the author of the bestseller Space, Life and Matter, which will take center stage in the conversation. Hope you enjoyed the journey of the 9 episodes. If you haven't yet subscribed to the videocast, please do with your favorite platform. Do write to fow@giggr.app and share your perspectives. Wishing you all a happy Diwali and a joyous festive season. See you again, Tuesdays at 5 with the next episode.